Hello, look who I found.
It's me! I exist!
I feel like to those of you who don't know, this is a guy who, well, he used to do a lot on the internet with Volvos.
Yeah, I'm the Volvo guy. But yeah, since recently I've been the absent guy.
Yes, absent Greg.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Absent and absent-minded.
Yes, but not absent from our hearts.
That's right. I am good, sir. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, much better than last week, where I felt like I was dying on stream. Um,
Ugh, yeah, it's not fun. Know that feeling. It's been it's been quite the last 3 months at the Gregson household with sickness and basement flooding and yada yada yada. It's fun.
so, how is the family?
The family's good. We are officially healthy as of today. Both kids are back at school. The Tamiflu is running, is coursing through the veins of both children, and yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we are out of the sickness woods for a while, and we got some form of immunity from all of the crap we've gotten over the last 3 weeks or 3 months. And yeah, the ground is thawed, so my basement has stopped flooding. Oh yeah, hi Steve. My name is also Steve, just way uglier than you.
Debatable. But yeah, that is yeah, it's been pretty nuts for you, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
growing up, we had the house I grew up in was prone to basement flooding. Um, but better news for my father than for you is that I was like 14, 15, and I was the sump pump.
right. Yeah, and in this case, Kate's kind of just been taking care of the kids, and I've just been running buckets up and down the stairs. But it's annoying when not that part of it, but the part of it that's annoying is just like the freaking previous owners of this house definitely knew that this was happening. Because there's a lot that I learned over the last 3 months about my basement that I didn't know previously. That I started to just kind of like dig into things, and I'm like, mm-hmm, yep, okay, they knew, and we got bamboozled on the old water damage in the basement kind of thing. So, um, yeah, but anyway, it's fine. The ground is thawed, and water can now go past my house again instead of into it.
Nice. And I see Doug is in chat. Doug, welcome back, my friend. A happy belated birthday to your better half.
Yes, and thank you, Steve. Good to be back.
Thank God Greg's back.
Yeah, who wants to look at Chad all the time? Blech.
I don't.
Gross. Gross.
We have Kai over on YouTube who asks Greg, anyone know of an i6 Volvo for sale right now? I'm
You can own this one for $60,000.
Seems overpriced.
No, what's up, Kai? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, don't know of one right now. But in chat is a gentleman named Doug who happens to sell Volvos, who may know of an i6 for sale. So definitely get chatting with him because he may know. But I mean, there's lots of them. Go check Car Gurus, honestly, and just search by the 3.0 in this generation, the P3 generation. Uh, it's a good car, honestly.
Wait, Doug, you bought another car?
Oh my God, that is wild.
Hi, my
And
name is
also
Doug, and
having
it's been 7 hours since my last car purchase.
hi, Doug.
Oh my
That's,
goodness.
that's wild and not surprising in the least at the same time.
So let's put that there. Sorry, I'm.
No, you're good. What's up on your end? What's up with What's up with cars on your end? We've been like mildly chatting about cars the last like 2 months. Is there anything new on your end?
Um, no, other than I have either a bad cam phaser or bad cam position sensor on the Mustang,
Mm, okay.
which has currently given me which the not the effect of that is I now have the ghost cam on them.
Oh, nice.
Because the sort of safe thing there is it just locks it in the well, to those of you who don't know the Coyote basically has the cam phasers. It has effectively two settings. Don't want to get too technical or what have you. Without Greg being here, the amount of Coyote talk has been probably more than chat can stomach. But the short version of it is that it locks it in the sort of high output, and that's how you get the ghost cam. So that's how you get quote lope.
Right.
Now, as much lope as a what you call it as a dual overhead cam engine can have. So on the upshot, the idle sounds a lot rowdier or what have you, but it definitely needs to be replaced, which is annoying because I don't want to open the heads, do the phasers, close them, and then send the heads off to Frankenstein to get the new cams, the new springs, retainers, port, polish, all that sort of fun stuff.
Right.
Which is annoying. Like, I hate doing things twice, right? Like, you know what I mean?
As someone that's done that many times, yes, I agree. That's very annoying.
But it is something that needs to be done because I do have to let the car run and get the oil up to temp so it gets all in, because it's all oil activated, the cam phasing and stuff like that. So because part of the plan was we were going to upgrade to Ford Performance phasers and sensors when we did the head work. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to buy parts twice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Selling parts has been annoying because people are dumb, like dumber than I like. Facebook Marketplace people are dumb to begin with. I was like, I had a buyer. It's like, yeah, I want the trans. I go, that's fantastic. Do you have a line on a 26 spline clutch and the flywheel? And the guy's like, no. Why? And I go, because I have the upgraded 26 spline input shaft on my car, which is stronger because it did come out of a boosted car. A stock Coyote input shaft or a stock MT82 input shaft is 23 spline. So you either have to buy something from like a Mantic or one other manufacturer makes like a good clutch for the 26 spline conversion, which is a slightly modified version of the T56 clutch and flywheel. And your clutch won't bolt onto this. It just won't work. He's
And
like,
I'm sure
I
they
don't
were
know. I
like,
think,
what?
and I was like, so you can have a built trans, a clutch, a flywheel, all of which has 6,000 miles on it. So basically broken in for $5,000, or you can buy the trans for me for call it 3,500 and go buy a clutch for 25. So you're spending an extra grand for no good reason.
Right.
And I was trying to explain to him, I was like, trust me, my dude, I've done all of the research, and like one of the like McLeod clutches, they're everywhere. And they make decent stuff for like your LSLT platforms and other like, Gen 3 Hemis and all this other sort of stuff. But for reasons known only to them, the their clutches for the MT82, a stock one, those MT82s tend to fail more than other clutches. So I don't know if it's an engagement thing, I don't know if it's a material thing, I don't know what it is, but it's like one of those things where it's just like known in the community, don't. Like it's
Right.
not a knock on the company, it's just one of those things, right? Like they may make a great affordable clutch for bleh, but this one isn't really the option. So
Yeah.
Kai goes on YouTube. He goes, yeah, I know, man. He loves the content on your car, so kudos to Greg.
Thank you, Kai. Appreciate it.
So yeah, so Sean, welcome, my dude. I guess as a welcome back, Greg. One of the things we
Welcome
talked
back, Connor. Dating myself there
a little bit
by
because I barely got the reference. Took me a second.
by like 50 or 60 years.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about in your absence, I actually had some of our supporters come through and kind of give their thoughts on it, and then they badgered isn't the right word, but sort of got when we had Jeff from Blue Sky on. Whatever. Thanks, I guess, Zach. Is unhinged builds. So like some of it ranged on like just like a money no object. I'd throw this engine in this car. Like for example, my thing is like I would personally like to take a VQ35, a Nissan V6, take it to an engine builder, and only use the head castings and the block castings. And then from there, try to get as close bore and stroke wise and firing order, so custom crankshaft would be required, to the 4-liter Porsche GT3 RS engine to see how close we could get.
Interesting.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, like, all right, I'm going to spend $35,000 building this VQ that like, but like the whole thought process is like you could use Nissan accessories and stuff like that and probably do the whole engine build even with all the custom parts and to get as close as like to the same cam profile. Obviously you'd have to work with like intake manifold design and stuff because that's all based on when it makes power, right? Like you wouldn't get an intake manifold that's good for making low end power and pair it with a cam that makes high end power. So like do that and throw that into say the Datsun 510 I talk incessantly about or whatever. Like
right.
So like at the end of the day it's like a really high end, high quality car. But like the other side of the unhinged nature is like take a Volvo 240 station wagon, throw it on a K10 Blazer chassis, and put 39s on it.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous. Let's see. I mean, all right. So unhinged money no object builds, like there's definitely there's
it's got to be unhinged. It can't just be a dream build. We can touch on that after, but it has to be like
no,
like a weird thing in your head that you've always wanted to see happen, but it like would cost a fortune.
Yeah, don't worry. I have 3 ideas that are properly stupid. So my first one would be so I would like to take the H6 out of the Subaru. I don't know. Are they like early 2000s, like or mid 2000s? I'd love to take the H6, the flat 6 out of a Subaru. So not the Porsche one because it needs to be the Subaru one. So I'd take that out of like the Outbacks, or I don't think they had it. Did they have a flat 6 in the SVX? I want to say they did. Either way, whatever one that came out of like the mid 2000s Subarus, the one that was like really good.
Oh, so
and
you're
they
talking
do for,
like an
build
easy,
swaps.
you do like an easy 30.
Yeah, so like that. But I want 2 of them. And I want to take them and I want to weld them together and I want to create the H12 that Subaru Formula One never did. And I want to make that somehow work, that I can take 2 flat 6s, make them work together, and huck it into a hypercar. Because I want to be like, I have a LaFerrari with a blown engine. I'm going to make a Subaru-powered LaFerrari with an H12 in it. Just because that would melt everyone's brains.
Oh,
It would sound ridiculous. And it would be so much fun to watch someone roll down, or watch as I rolled down the quail with like this whatever the hell noise it makes. Freaking H12 Subaru engine. I think it would be the funniest, most unhinged, ridiculous thing anyone's ever seen. And I wouldn't even clean the engine bay. I would just leave it as this like ratty H12, two engines stacked on top of each other or welded together sideways. I don't care. Make it the weirdest looking thing of all time. I want to do that.
So there's a couple that made me instantly think of a couple different things. Number one is, do you remember the Cizeta Marauder V16?
Yes, I do. That thing is crazy.
So the short version of that is like it took like, I think it took like Lambo V8 designs. It wasn't two Lambo V8s sandwiched together, but it used some of their, I think it was for like the head design, and then it used Ferrari sort of thoughts in like the block design or something. But it's like literally two of those. Then they made two V8s, slammed them together. The thing has 8 cams. So it's separated into 4 banks to make, but it's, there's 8 cylinders on each side, but so it had basically a V8 with 4 cams and then a V8 with another 4 cams. So like it's insane. Haggerty and Jason Camisa just did a video on it, and it's absolutely absurd, the engine, and it was transversely mounted.
A transverse. God, what a freaking cluster of a car, and I love that. Like, it's so weird. I love weird stuff, and that's like the ultimate weird. That's crazy. But yeah, I would love to like make that car, and like I said, like go down the quail, and people are like, ooh, La Ferrari, and what in the hell is in the back of that thing? And just like boggle everyone's mind. That would be awesome. Anthony, what's up, dude? I'm actually here. So that's probably my first one.
But hold on, there's a second engine as to I think this is doable. There is a company, and I am blanking on the name, that takes LSs. Well, it doesn't take an LS, but it takes the design of an LS. So the bore size, I forget what, but the bore spacing, the general architecture, the water galleys, all of that, and makes V12s using that.
Interesting.
So,
interesting.
In theory, if you could take a H6 and then just continue that for 2 cylinders per side.
Do it.
And it in theory it could be done. It's unhinged because it's like I have this Subaru based H12 or whatever that cost $40,000 to make, but on the upshot, it is painfully difficult to work on.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, you're talking about as unhinged as you humanly can get. That's a good unhinged build idea. And Zach, thank you very much. I appreciate it. The car is super fun to drive. Sounds great, and I agree. I think the wheels look awesome. Shockingly, those are OEM wheels. They're one of the few cars I've ever owned or ever seen, honestly, that I didn't want to immediately rip the OEM wheels off of it and throw them in the trash.
Hold on. To be fair, you liked the stock wheels on your BMW. On your V70R, you replaced the OEM wheels with OEM wheels in addition to the other wheels and stuff.
Yep.
Well, we talked about this the other.
Didn't have OEM. I didn't replace them with OEM wheels. I had the Pegasus wheels, and then I bought aftermarkets that were not OEM. The big silver ones were not OEM.
But my point is, and this is something we touched on, is Volvo is one of the few communities where they can, a true Volvoist can rattle off, what was the, you had the pegs, and didn't you have the 10 spokes? that you put on it. The
Mm.
split spoke, similar to what you have now, but not as like angular.
Oh, yeah. So I had those, but those weren't OEM. Those were aftermarket.
Not the Avantis or whatever you had that are on the
No.
Oregon car. You still need to
Oh,
send to certain individual pictures of, by the way.
yeah, I know. Um, yeah. Now that I have children that are not staying home during the day while I'm working, I actually might have time tomorrow. Um, yeah, no, the ones that are sort of like this, but just like more spokes, right? Um,
You had a set of wheels that weren't Volvo made, but they were repros of Volvo wheels.
oh yeah, so they weren't those were never Volvo wheels. Those were just they were reproductions of wheels made specifically for Volvo's aftermarket. They were because they just had what are they called? Vanilla Performance. That's what they
Yes,
were. But they weren't vanillas. They were Linea Corsas. So basically just the same specs. But
but like the
either way, yeah. I mean, I like to buy cars that I like. I decently like the OEM wheels on.
but like this also got me to like where like Volvo's the one community where like a true Volvoist can rattle off like a bunch of Scandinavian name themed wheels. Like it's like, oh sick, are those the blah? Then you look up the blah and you're like, Volvo people are weird because they're a decent looking OEM wheel, but yeah, like for me at least, like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I think they're all named after like either star clusters or galaxies or stars themselves. Stuff like that. They're all
like
space themed.
Norse like stuff out of like Norse mythology or
Yeah.
some
Like
shit.
well, yeah, Pegasus, the constellation. Um oh God, now I'm gonna forget them all, of course. I haven't looked at them in quite literally years. But you know, they had all of those. Yeah. But yeah, they're good. Um, yeah, Zach, exactly. Volvo people are odd. Saab people are even odder in a good way. But all right, so back to the unhinged build ideas. So that was one of them, H12 in a modern like hypercar or holy trinity car. My other one would be uh, what are the what are the buggies that the trio drove in one of the last Top Gears or first Grand Tours?
Oh, it was
Myers
great.
Manx, those the ones that
Well,
Clarkson's one where he
they
had
were
like the Edelbrock 302 out back, right?
well, I know the ones you're talking about, but you've triggered me. It's actually a Rover engine in the back. It's a V8. You were mostly there, but
Oh, did it have something Edelbrock on it, or
yeah,
do
they
they
made like
usually put Edelbrocks in the back and he
well,
put something else in the back?
Edelbrock I think was like rocker cover or the intake manifold or something like
Oh,
Edelbrock makes
okay.
a. I don't know if Edelbrock makes crate engines per se, but they make a
Yeah, I
lot of
didn't.
like performance parts for a lot of different engines. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know what you're talking. Those are all. So I think it was it's a Baja Bug. So
Right, right.
They're Volkswagen Beetles that have like a fiberglass, like almost like the race car bed, like plastic,
Hmm.
but a body on them.
Yes. So what I would love to do is put an
Subaru
LS.
H12 in the back.
Now that would be even more unhinged. No, I would do like a rowdy like cammed LS, naturally aspirated, but I would make it have like Bozazoku pipes that are like 8 feet tall that just look insane. So,
What
uh,
medication they put you on? Because that is
and yeah, I do. You said unhinged, and my mind just started wandering. It was great. But imagine seeing that coming down the road. It's like, oh, cool, Baja Bug. Oh, that's an engine that shouldn't be there. And what on God's green earth is that sticking out of the top of it?
the
Like,
thing that. But that's
that
like
would be
how you're like,
hilarious.
like obviously not with the exhaust, but that's how like your sandrails and stuff like that. That's how like your what are they?
Yeah.
The class one buggies in Baja spec. So like
Thanks,
basically,
Zach. See you, dude.
yeah. Thanks for popping in and chatting, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
But that's how like that was the ultimate evolution of like the class 1 stuff was the like they had the Baja bugs and they were getting more and more and more insane, throwing more and more insane engines in them or what have you, and then eventually it just became like a bespoke chassis on the same level of engineering and insanity that was applied to say the trophy trucks.
Right. Right. So yeah, so that was my second idea, and then I have one more, but it's in the not large engine, not go fast category. It's more in the troll category. I would love to take a big, heavy. Not, I don't. It can't be too heavy, but like, I don't know, a nice car of some kind, maybe like a Bentley or a Rolls. Though I don't think it would work because those cars are probably too heavy. And swap in the engine of a Peel P50 and see how fast we could go.
It won't.
Right. So that's why it's like it can't be too heavy. But I would love to put that little tiny motor into something like a Volvo, whatever, and just like go down the street and just be like it's just like 2 miles an hour and everyone's like, what the hell is that noise? Again, it's more of like the shock value. So I think that would just be, again, a troll and very funny.
Did you? I mean, this is not on the same level, but it's definitely a troll. You'd definitely be trolling anyone who's behind you on the road. I'll tell you that much.
Yes. That's a true show car because you could literally only move it around at the show and back into a trailer and never drive it on the road.
Oh no, depending on the chassis, I don't think it gets up ramps to get into a trailer.
Yeah, the trailer just goes. It's at the bottom of a hill. You just roll it right in. It's fine.
I just read that, but like it's trolly in the sense of like putting an engine that would upset the purists into something. But I really want to take like a Z06 and put a Coyote into it. Like,
I mean, that would be fantastic. Just for the trolls, and also it would be a pretty sick car too.
I mean, assuming it would fit in between the strut towers. Like, I'm not 100% sure on the space, and Coyotes are.
This is money, no object. You can do strut tower fabrication and management. It's fine.
Right, but like in my head, any build just has to look right. So, like, if it requires like 4-inch fender flares or what have you that are just ridiculous, like.
Yeah, you're right, Anthony. It probably wouldn't move at all.
It would just.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I mean, it's pretty interesting. So
Iron Duke in a 70s Lincoln or the Pinto 2.3. That might be just as bad as the Peel P50 engine in anything else.
I mean, Iron Dukes have to be incredibly plentiful. Thank you, U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah.
But so Sean had like just an insane idea. Are you familiar with the 80s Ford Centurion?
I want to say yes, but I need a refresher.
Okay, so
I'm sure I've seen it and I'm sure I'm familiar with it, but I need to actually be refreshed in the brain, in my mind brain.
All right, so if you go to our DMs, I'm just gonna pop in a picture for you. Okay, that was the description for today. Oops.
Gregson is back, so this seems as a good time.
There we go. I sent you.
Okay. I am now looking. Oh yeah, I've definitely seen this. Yeah.
So what Sean wants to do is to take that, put an engine in the back that makes about 600 plus horsepower, and run it on a road course and make it look like I don't know exactly what the visual here is. I'm just picturing a lot of like aluminum siding, but the meth lab version of the GT40. That's the GT 290 or some shit.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that idea. What a great unhinged idea. That's good. You know what? I will say this with a rear engine with enough power would be an epic drift mobile because
It wouldn't.
it would be
It would
just
constantly be in good
super.
proximity because it's so freaking
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah, this thing would drift literally every corner it's been on. That would that would be so good. Definitely like that.
That
That's
Doug.
good. The van or the truck? Yes.
It honestly looks like someone's like, okay, hear me out. I want a van that looks like it has a sleeper cab from a semi, and then the back half I want to look like a nice boat, like literally
Yeah.
a like sun deck for a boat.
Yeah, I want a van that has a sleeper, but I also want a place to land my 1/2 scale model helicopter.
Yeah,
Like this exists, and that's funny.
yeah,
I don't I don't understand how, but it exists.
yeah.
It's
So
great.
like,
I love it.
oh shit, the
I'm
yawns have
tired
started.
too. Yeah, the yawns. Ugh, old. Oh, I'm on like maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep for the last like 3 days straight, which is fun. But nah, we're
No,
here.
no, Sean, they weren't made for people who wanted to haul horses but sleep in their vehicle. They were made for people who wanted to haul their meth lab. Like, nothing screams, I cook meth more than this.
Yeah. So what is the back of that thing? Is it a place for like a gooseneck to hook up, or like what's the deal with it?
I don't know. Sean is the expert.
Yeah. Sean, lay down the knowledge in chat because I have no idea what the back of that thing is for. And also, chat, look up what the back of that thing is for.
I'm already doing it.
Bring it up on the old YouTubes and Facebooks and screens.
I'm trying to find an image of the back. And
Yeah, that's all I care about. I don't care about a description. I'm sure Sean will take care of that. But I want to see what the hell it looks like back there.
so it looks honestly like it's just like a normal pickup truck bed that I'm sure you could put like convert for like gooseneckery and everything. But like,
Okay, you could have a fifth wheel installed, but by default they were a truck bed. Huh. Interesting. So in theory, you could hook up a gooseneck back there.
yes,
Interesting. Is it I would imagine with a dish that deep on the wheel, it's dually back there?
it is a dually.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that
Yeah.
what a time to be
That's
alive
cool.
when they were conceiving that thing.
It's cool. It's got hey, look, it's got box fenders. A box fender of the world. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Well, I mean, it has to. Out back.
yeah, because dually. Um,
Yeah, exactly. But hey, it looks honestly looks cool. I dig it. It's weird. I like weird. I'm down. I would definitely own this if it was reliable. Which
I
I'm
mean,
sure it's not.
honestly, like restoring one of these things, putting in like a good modern like, because actually the modern Power Strokes are actually not half terrible, or just going full Hoss and putting a fucking Cummins in it. But like, if we had race cars, or we went to like drag and drive events, or like
Yeah, this would be the support vehicle for sure.
this would be the tow rig.
Yeah,
You know,
for
like,
sure.
I
Because
think that would.
because we would roll up in this thing, and Cletus would be like, "How can I buy this from you?"
I mean,
if
he's
he
got-
didn't already have one, because it's just so redneck, and I love it. It's awesome.
You know, I mean, he's got the toter home and everything. So like,
Yeah.
this is like the poor man's toter home.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like I get to sleep here. You fuckers figure it out.
That's cool. I dig it.
You know, and that does lead up. Since you mention it, that does bring up an interesting question. Yeah, I can't imagine a 351, a 460, or a 73 being great at towing. But then again, gear any engine and it'll tow something. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to get your thoughts on, what are your thoughts on the whole Cletus at Daytona thing? You know,
Oh, I don't have any. I don't know anything about it. I haven't even kept up with it, honestly.
Really? How are you
Yeah.
on the internet and not see that?
I've literally been off of the internet for like 2 months. It's been a wild 2 months. So yeah, I've had like zero time. So I knew he was there. That's the extent of my knowledge of it.
Okay, so he gave a pretty all-time interview.
I did see that because it was literally everywhere, and every media outlet picked it up. So I couldn't go on any social media and not see it. So I did see that. It was very Ricky Bobby. It was awesome.
But like, so like, short version of here it came about. Um, and like the best thing is just like when you're driving or something, just listen to his interview with on the Dale Jr. podcast. But he had Greg Biffle is a sub, last minute sub at one of his Crown Vic races.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up having a mild conversation with Greg, but not much. Then he does the whole helping people out during the flooding and the devastation in North Carolina after the hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And him and Greg actually become pretty good friends, as like all the content you see from Greg Biffle lately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then jokingly he throws out, what if I want to do NASCAR, I want to do this. So like ARCA is actually a really good place to do it because like they're all spec chassis. They all use a spec LS.
Yep.
And everything. Bing, bang, boom. He ends up in ARCA. Is doing pretty well. And then this poor girl ends up hitting him not once but twice, eventually taking him out of the race. And like this poor girl ends up getting I shouldn't say pretty. Gets a lot of unjustified hate on the internet because the internet.
Mm.
And everything. But that Cletus does the interview. It's an all-timer. The interview's so good they invite him into the booth. So he's in the booth for like part of the
great.
race. Yanderson, welcome, my good sir. And there is a long form video that I meant to do weeks ago, didn't get to. I have 3 long form videos that I want to do. One of which I have to hustle if I want to get it done because Sebring's this weekend. And it's probably going to be a longer short, like one of the 3-minute shorts. But I want to revisit the 1983 race, which we've talked about, or what have you.
Yeah.
I also wanted to do a video on Cletus is exactly what NASCAR needs. Because when we grew up, NASCAR had a shit ton of personalities. It had that good old boy vibe. It had the... like it wasn't so mainstream's not the right word because like I end up that ends up being the whole like I liked the band before they were cool kind of vibe that I hate.
Yeah.
But like when NASCAR has people from all over the country, which I think it should have, or what have you, it loses a lot of its charm. And then you combine that with the whole like point system and playoff system that is just utter dog shit now.
I hate that. That's what turned me off to NASCAR completely.
But
the freaking stage racing and the point system.
But like when you had, I wouldn't mind stage racing if you got rid of the whole bracketed playoff system. That means you don't have to be the best driver. You just have to be good enough in regular season, good enough for the first 3 ladders, and then beat 3 guys to win a championship. It's just not how motor
yeah.
I like the idea of stage racing because it kind of does the whole multiple round qualifiers, stuff like that, that's like on your local short track every week. Like I kind of, don't get me wrong, if it went away, I wouldn't cry, but
right.
But like that stuff, but now like there aren't any real outstanding grab your attention, bring me back personality. When we were growing up, you had the good old boys And then you had guys like Jeff Gordon, who was the good old boys hated because he was some, I think he was California or may have been Indiana. I forget where Jeff Gordon was actually from, but he was a Yankee.
I think it was California.
He was a Yankee, like he was an outsider, and like you had that juxtaposition, as opposed to now where you have guys from all over the world, and I think that's great. I think it's fucking awesome that what's his name, SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, is in the series and everything. I think that's cool, but I think it lost a lot of that sort of, I don't want to use redneck charm. I don't want to say Southern charm, but it NASCAR was awesome because it came from moonshine. NASCAR was awesome because you had all these great personalities. Your what's his name? Smokey Yunick. And your Junior Johnsons, and you had all these personalities who were constantly pushing the rule makers to be like this. You had not blatant, but like you had guys literally cheating, being like, well, it ain't cheating if you don't get caught. Like all these different types of things. Yeah. Like one of my favorite stories is that cars would, to make weight, cars would have lead shot in the actual tubing of the chassis, and they would just sort of flick a lever or do something by the seat. The lead shot would come out, the car would be lighter, and then they could just quickly, boom. It was like all these things are cool. And now the cars are all standardized. I like the idea of a 6-speed sequential. I like the idea of it modernized with sort of that rear transmission or what have you. The juxtaposition of that with a pushrod V8, I think is phenomenal, or what have you. But there's just no personality to it. There's some guys, but there's just nothing that reaches out from its sort of hardcore fans and grabs me back in. Yeah. I would even say stuff like Formula One, and even stuff that you saw with the sports car racing with the Corvette Bird. The Corvette driver flipping the bird at the BMW, like that stuff reaches out of the niche that is sports car racing or Formula One and grabs your casuals. I'm really curious to see, and the marketing material hasn't done anything with it, which annoys me, but I'm curious to see what viewership and stuff for Sebring is, especially after Daytona and all that other sort of stuff. And NASCAR is missing that. And what Cletus is someone who grabs you. Yeah. I'm more interested in his, because he's going to be in Dega next month. I'm more interested in that in the ARCA series than I am in the than the actual cup race or anything like that. Because he is a personality. He's a genius level marketer. He's a genius level individual, because guess what? Nobody really was paying attention when it was Garrett Mitchell until he created Cletus with 1320 video.
That's true.
And now he has a track. He owns Bradenton. I'm loving all the content that's coming out of the Cleat Outlaws, which is their list race that they're doing. Mm-hmm. I personally really, 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 really like that. And it's interesting with the cars that are coming out of it, all these people and everything, like the Crown Vic racing. That's he just released a entry list for that. And it's pretty freaking nuts. So you have your typical, your guys, your creators, like a Whistling Diesel, a Weston Chaplin, J.H. Diesel, Brad DeBerti, those sort of guys. But here's some other things. You have Greg Biffle is racing in it. Butterbean.
Yeah, that Butterbean is nuts. That's great.
Michael Waltrip. And speaking of street outlaws and stuff like that, Kai Kelly, who's a drag racer, like that. If you've watched any sort of street outlets for any length of time, Kai Kelly's a big name. I think Sean, I think might be the Sean from the show, but I'm not sure. It's What No Way. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. But like your Hallie Deegans, your Travis Pastranas and stuff, all of these people are coming down for a Crown Vic race. Like, just let that sink in.
Because it's down home. Because it's like grassroots, and
Yeah,
like all of these people know that it's just fun.
they're doing it for the fun.
And that's right. They're not doing it for money. They're doing it because like, oh, this is cool. I can engage with my audience and have a blast at the same time. Why would I not do this?
And it's going back to sort of the soul of NASCAR.
Yes.
100%. You know, before NASCAR became this huge corporate thing. And again, I'm not bemoaning NASCAR for doing that. I just think they lost their, to quote what we're going to get to when we start talking Ferrari, they lost their way when they started trying to, when they deviated from who they were to try to appeal to a broader audience. The broader audience was coming in no matter what. Like, the first boom in NASCAR was the 79 500 when I think it was Yarborough and Davey Allison, or one of the Allison brothers, when they're fighting.
I think Bobby Allison. Davey was his son.
When they were fucking throwing hands on the backstretch.
Yeah, I remember the call. Like, hey, there's a fight that's broken out. Like, it's great. That's NASCAR. That's old school NASCAR. I love that.
You know, so you know, and to touch on Anthony, he goes, I just want to share with anyone that my local track has officially been saved, which is fantastic. Southside Speedway, a place with a very important place in American automotive racing history, is coming back after 5 long years. That is fantastic. Save the racetracks. We could get into some of the IHRA track buying news and the clusterfuck that has become, but that's awesome. And like, the reason why it's pertinent to the conversation we're having is they want to do a Crown Vic series because it's cheap. You put a roll cage. Like, I think that's fantastic. I want to, once life stops being a pain in my dick with everything that's going on, I want to try to use and exhaust every single one of my contacts to go do one of Cleater's Crown Vic races.
That would be sick.
I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm not saying it's even possible. Or no, what I am saying is that it's potentially possible because I know people, not to be like, I know people.
I was just going to say, I know people.
But like, if you know Victor Alvarez, the guy who is Cletus's partner and owns half of Bradenton Motorsports Park, I have friends who talks to that dude on the daily. I have friends who've sold Garrett cars. Like, I have ways of getting their ears, whether or not they're like, who the fuck's this guy? Nah, go away. Like,
right.
You know, but whatever. But like, I have potentially an entry into the door. You know, and Steve goes, let's not forget Frankie Muniz is racing full-time in trucks. And that's awesome. And that's fantastic. Yeah, that's cool. And I think some of his stuff has been mildly interesting. But and this is no disrespect, he's not reaching out of NASCAR. He's grabbing people who are like Malcolm in the Middle fans, or, hey, I remember this guy, let me check it out. And like, some of those fans are sticking around. But he's not reaching out of the TV set and grabbing people who haven't paid attention to NASCAR in years, like a Cletus is. Like, making you actually give a shit about it. But I'll commit. You know, like, and like to Anthony's point, like, I would love to even just go down to that track and see, like, let's see what this is all about. And have fun and, like, do that. Like, you know, I know Anthony. And Anthony opens doors. Before we get into the next thing, I've been pounding waters, so I need to use the restroom. And I think Greg is going to tell you all why he hasn't decorated his garage yet.
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
I'll be right back, man.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, the reason why I haven't decorated my garage is because, yeah, it was a brutal last couple of months here at the old Gregson household. Everyone's been sick. Job was brutal, and yeah, late nights slash sickness constantly is not leading to fun. So that's the reason. But once spring, also it's been cold, and I don't want to work in here in the dead of winter, quite frankly. Like it's nice, it's March, and it's only like 45 degrees outside, which is awesome. I don't have to run a space heater right now. My sleeves are rolled on a hoodie. It was 50 degrees today. Like, all right, well now I can do work on my garage if I really wanted to. I think get some cabinetry up, throw some stuff on the wall. Like I can actually like decorate my side of the garage now, which is cool. So once it gets a little bit nicer out, then we'll be starting to actually do some work in here, which is cool. But yeah, the garage still, yeah, it's great. It's new. It's wonderful. I put it on my tax return because it's streaming here and it's technically part of my business. So there, it's great. But mostly it had to do with just like family stuff and like kids being sick and like, oh yeah, and my basement flooding like every other day, which was awful. So my really quick, the 122nd version of that is my house is a Center Hall Colonial in northern New Jersey. If you've seen one, you've literally seen all of them. It is on a foundation, it has a basement, and the basement has a floating slab, which means there's a little gap between the concrete slab and the concrete foundation. And the reason for that is for drainage and other uses. But it's hilarious that there's that in New Jersey because we have radon, which is needs to be pulled from the ground because of reasons and the earth. So floating slab with a gap does not equate to good radon pull from the ground because you have air gaps and then as a radon system. The house is weird, honestly. Either way, we have Bilco doors from our basement out to the backyard. They're totally useless. They work and everything is fine, but we never even use it. There's no point to them. But the house was built in 1969, so lots of houses around here came with them. Underneath those doors, our backyard slopes just slightly enough so that all drainage kind of runs right to those Bilco doors, and water loves to pool underneath and behind them, and then get in to the basement from the door that goes from the basement to the Bilco doors to the stairs. So all that water essentially just goes there, it pools there, and then it seeps. And then by seeps, I mean sometimes it's like running water. Like my basement would fill up like with a layer of water, a thin layer of water, in about 5 minutes if I wasn't like mitigating that. And at one point years ago when we moved in, we had like 2 or 3 inches in our basement at one point. So it was not good. But this time I was actually down there with like shop vac and was able to like actually mitigate the problem before it got bad. So that's why I was like, I've been sending Chad pictures of like, you'll never guess where I am. And it was just me standing there as my shop vac decided to, or as my shop vac was sucking up water as the rain slash thaw slash the ground was too frozen to absorb anything. All the water got in the basement. So luckily, no damage, and I was able to like mitigate it pretty easily. So that's the reason why I haven't put anything up in my garage and why I haven't been around. The end. But back now, thankfully, and work has calmed down a little bit, thankfully. So hopefully I'll be back for the next couple of weeks. And if we don't do this on Wednesdays, maybe we'll do another day here or there, either a Thursday or a Tuesday or whatever. Well, probably not Tuesday because my wife works late, and that's like my night to like hang out and take care of the kids for bed. But maybe a Wednesday or Thursday or even a Monday, depending. We'll see. But Wednesday's our day, and then if we need to push it or change it, we can. But anyway, the end. Yeah, the bro theory. Are you live? Yes, we are the bro theory. We are live. Hello. Come chat with us. And yes, that is a picture of me in a snorkel with water. Oh man. Where do I work? I mean, I work from home, but I personally work for an ad agency. So I'm a writer, for a copywriter for an ad agency. Um, and we do this whole shifting lanes thing is on the side and fun. Um, cool. Um, Chad is still indisposed, but I'm still here and we're still good. Uh, Bro Theory, it's going well, dude. We're just hanging out talking cars. Not right now because my partner in crime, Chad, is currently not at the computer, but we're talking cars. We're podcasting in front of my car, which is cool. Um, and yeah, would love to do that. It's a nice gig to be able to work from home. I got to be honest. It is something that um, I was forced into in a good way when the pandemic hit in 2020, when everyone was kind of quarantined. But my company at the time that I was at, not no longer with that company, it was really well set up to do like digital work remotely because we work off of basically just files that are on servers. So the IT team set it up where you can kind of just work wherever you wanted and just VPN into the servers. Like, here's a PDF of the piece that we're working on right now. Check it out. And then we routed it through a digital routing system from the copy team to the editorial team to the art team to the account team to the client. So like you do all of these checks and balances, and it was all digitized anyway, even before work from home happened. So we were just set up for that. And ever since then, I've been working from home. Been working from home for now, actually, literally this month, 5 years. I've been 5 years working from home, and it's quite honestly fantastic. Big fan of it. Um, since you've been gone, Greg, I got a new job. Sean, what's your new job? Very cool. Bro Theory, speaking of cars, trying to slam out my 15 Camry and stance it. I can't find aftermarket kits, so I'm stuck. Yeah, look, not a big fan of stance, quite honestly, but to each their own. If you want to do that, go for it. I don't really like that. Depending on what your definition of stance is. Stance where a car's lowered, you have proper fitment and everything like that. Really cool. The cambered stuff, do not like. Not a huge fan. But look, again, if that's your scene, go for it. There are, and I think Chad just responded in chat from the Shifting Lanes Garage channel. There's not much out there for Camrys, and like, yes, for as plentiful as Camrys are, there aren't a ton of aftermarket options for them. There are some, and there are cool body kits, and there's like some good wheel options, suspension stuff, but like, there's not a lot of like big performance stuff that you could do. My recommendation then is to look in Japan and look on some of the Japanese websites. Go on Google Chrome, go on some Japanese websites and use Translate. Because some of the stuff that they do in Japan might probably fit the bill, and probably you'll get a better swath of information and body kits doing that. Camry forums too, they probably have a lot out there. So I don't know. How can I get into that? I'm an auto tech. I just want to clap out a grandma car, a little bit of camber. That's cool. I dig that, dude. That's fun. Um, fan of that. If you want to do that, go for it. That's something that's pretty sweet. But yeah, look into the Japanese stuff. Obviously, since Toyota is Japanese, but I bet you that they make some stuff for your car. It is probably going to be few and far between, but I would check some of the stuff in Japan. And then Sean, I work doing insurance inspections, basically drive all over my state on some bordering states to take pictures of homes and take measurements. Cool. That's pretty dope.
Oh, I didn't get to work.
At least you get to drive around. That's cool. Japan is why I want. To. I've seen clapped out Priuses. Yeah, the Prius crowd in Japan is actually quite robust with what they do over there.
And annoying.
Yes.
Hold
Chad is now going to entertain you, and when I come back,
Hold on.
we are Chad is now going to entertain you, and when I come back in 2 minutes, we're going to talk about Ferrari. We're going to talk about Ferraris and why Ferrari has lost their way. So, Chad, regale them with a tale.
Oh, there we go. What's up, guys? We'll put Greg's avatar up for him. His chiseled tune variant. Yeah, so I see the both of you out there, and like, what I would suggest is what I would suggest if you have like a car that maybe for specifically that car there aren't many aftermarket support or what have you for, especially if you're looking to go down a route, is there's two ways of looking at it. There is looking at the existing suspension and you want more camber or what have you. I'm not a suspension tech or anything like, so I can't tell you like physics and like, you know, whether you extend end links, shorten upper control arms, whatever, right? As someone who's had to deal with, you know, caster issues and stuff like that, I don't know enough. But you can modify these parts, extend parts here, shorten parts there, if you're handy with a welder or know someone who's really good with a welder and has a rough idea on suspension geometry. That's one route. The other route is Toyota's a massive company. And that my thought here is that I used to have a Volvo C30, and as all the people in as the people in chat will tell you, is that there's a lot of your so like for example, you can go out and find big brake upgrades for a C30 or a P1 platform car. Or you can look at the other P1 platform cars, and wouldn't you know it, they make a bigger rotor with, I think it's the same caliper. It might be a slightly bigger caliper. Not 100%, but that is an option. People are throwing Mazda Speed, sway bars and things of that nature because they're the same platform. You know, the Focus RS had a much large of that generation had a much larger aftermarket for engine mods, i.e., the bigger turbo. Intake manifolds, things of that. So, like, there's that. So, you can find suspension. Fantastic. Glad I ranted on about that. Talking your ear off, which I'm assuming was mildly useless for you. At any rate, body kit stuff is a completely different animal. I think the only thing you have there is either modifying existing body panels, which gets dicey, unless you're not Then there's a whole 3D printing space out there that I don't know much about. I know B is for Build just did a fully custom body kit for a GR86. And he's big in 3D printing. Like, he has an industrial 3D printer. I'm not saying that's something we can all use or obtain. But there's options there. I know Toyota Camrys have some of them. I don't know enough about the platform, but I know there's sport kits for them that you can dress up and potentially modify if you want, like, a down and dirty splitter that doesn't really have to hold much load. If you do it right, it's a pretty easy thing if you're handy with whether like sheet metal or other materials or what have you. And then, yeah, if you talk to a fabricator and $2,800 using existing body parts, that's, to be honest, for something completely custom, not that bad. To give you an idea, I looked into So for my current car, the 2019 Mustang, I don't hate, it's grown on me. I don't hate the catfish front end on those, but I would like to put something like a different bumper or something like on it. And I've recently started gravitating towards the Mustang Mach 1, the S550. I'm trying to think. I didn't save it. Dang it. But there's a company that makes a really, really good one just to change the look at it. And of course, Sean is like, they made a supercharger kit for the Camry in the early 2000s. I mean, I want to say, is that a variation of like the 4Runner supercharger kit? I don't know enough about those, but I know the 4Runner had a supercharger, a positive displacement supercharger kit for the 4Runner, for the 6-cylinder 4Runners. That might be in the same era, if memory serves. Yeah, I love the 2019s, but I noticed when dogged without tunes, they blow up. What do you mean by dogged? Sorry, I'm out of the loop on that one. I had a B97 Camry at one point. What? Oh, nasty. Yeah, I'm sorry. As far as prep work and things are concerned, I did not go down the Camry aftermarket rabbit hole. And it appears as though I should have. Gotcha. Oh, push too hard. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I mean that's the thing with a lot of, what's the word? Common's not the right word. The I don't want to say they were never intended for performance, right? But like cars like that are more intended as transportation, as opposed to some of the performance variant, those it gets tricky when you tune them because, again, the Volvo guys will tell you there's even the performance Volvos like the R's and stuff, like the engines in those, they're open deck, so you have to modify the block to make them, you know, work and everything. So there's so much stuff that goes into these sort of things, because it's one thing. So it's one thing to say, hey, like I remember way back, this is probably 15, 16-ish years ago, if not more. I had a kid who worked for me at Enterprise who had a 3000 GT. It wasn't the VR4, but it was the 3-liter, and he was looking to supercharge it. And someone somewhere had modified a Mustang mod motor supercharger to work with that engine. And I don't know the remainder of the details, but the short version of it is that it never really fit right. And stuff like, the pulleys for like the accessories, he could get the supercharger working, but like, I think it was like the AC condenser or something like that really needed to be relocated, because again, if an engine that's not designed for supercharging, you're not going to get enough contact on either the blower pulley or any of the other pulleys to have them function the way they're supposed to. Of course, Sean goes, the Sienna minivan could have had it equipped as well. Yeah, that. So, Greg's homework assignment for when he makes his quarterly appearance next time is to have all the modding options for Camrys sorted out.
Oh, The best modding option for a Camry is to sell it and buy a Baldo. The end. Also, don't do that. Camrys are very reliable.
Yes, they are. Um, let me just make sure I've caught up on chat. All right. Greg, what is
Me.
what is your favorite Ferrari of all time?
Uh, I have two. One is my favorite Ferrari, and one is the best Ferrari. Um, my favorite Ferrari of all time is the 355. It is it's from the era that I grew up in. It is just a great Ferrari design. It's modern, but not like over the top. It doesn't get into that like 80s, 90s crazy wedge stuff. But it's still like really good in it from a design perspective. It's simple, it's beautiful, it's sporty. It just it ticks every single box for me. The 355 is that car. Now, would I ever own a 355? No, unless I have biblical amounts of money.
What, you don't like
Because
taking the engine out to do a timing service?
that's what I was just gonna say. It's like, oh, you need a new floor mat? Oh, engine out service. Like, it's just insane. Like, no, thank you. Hard pass. So
Oh, you need new tires. We need to remove the engine. Why?
Yeah, well, this makes no sense. Like, if I hit the Mega Millions, yes, I will own a 355 because I will have several millions put aside just to service that car.
Oh, did you see
But,
the dude? See the dude who's coyote swapping one of those?
No, but I'm going to go look that up immediately when we are done with stream. It's awesome. So that's like my favorite Ferrari of all time. It's just it ticks every like box of like modern, unique, beautiful, just cool, like just a really cool Ferrari. The best Ferrari of all time, I think, is the 458. It is modern. It is staggeringly gorgeous. It has arguably the best engine Ferrari has ever put in a car in it. It sounds insane. It looks amazing. And it, I think, has aged very gracefully. And I think it will go down as all time one of the top 5 Ferraris ever made. I really do. Which over all of Ferraridom is a big thing to say. So between those two, but for me the 355 just because it's that cool 90s effect to me.
I'm pretty with you on that, just because like I like, and those engines are apparently pretty damn stout. As far as like
What are the 458?
no, the 355s.
Yeah, they are. They're great engines. It's just everything around them is just like, oh, engine out service, engine out service. Oh, that fails, that fails. The engines themselves are quite good.
Yeah. But like I'm kind of right there with you. I'm trying to figure out. I forget the name because I haven't really paid attention to Ferrari in a minute. But like my favorite Ferrari of all time is the 288 GTO because
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know, I have this soft spot for homologation race cars that never race.
Shocking. The big road racing fan has a.
Well, here's the
a
funny
soft
thing is
spot
that
for
the
homologated
288
race cars.
the 288 was designed to fit Group B regulation,
Yeah.
to be a competitor to like a Porsche 959. So like,
Yeah.
so like there's that. I agree with you on the 458. I think that's between that and like the LaFerrari are the two last great Ferraris that followed the Ferrari ethos. Enzo and his underlings were famous for, certain stuff like V6s have their place, but they don't belong in a true sports car. And when Enzo says sports car, that's the super hypercar, super / hypercar in his nomenclature, right? Like,
Right.
again, the guy passed away in I think 1988, so like keep that in mind. And then the 488 was kind of it was a turbocharged 458 in my opinion. I know it's more than that, but as far as aesthetic, as far as the role it served and all that, like it was that. But as we all know, turbos sort of dull an engine. You know, your car sounds phenomenal with a turbocharger, but if that was NA, it would scream and be even more insane.
It would sound ridiculous. Yes, agree.
So there's that. So it was a little bit dulled. And then obviously the LaFerrari, the Enzo, those V12s, you know, the 812 Superfast is another one that's right up there because naturally aspirated screaming V12. And it was before Ferrari got too batshit insane with their function first, form second. And I think that's where to get to, in a sense, that Ferrari lost its way, is it became almost Germanic. And it's... Where's my hat hitting? Like the back of my brim is hitting something and it's driving me nuts. So I'm just going to...
chair or is it your hoodie?
I don't know. So we're reclining the chair a little bit to eliminate that. And see if I'm like catching it on like the back. It's like I catch it, I'm like... or whatever. But to get back to Ferrari, like they become Germanic in the sense that their ultimate speed trumps everything. Everything has to have a function. And that, in my estimation, got, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but Ferraris always were a thing to behold. They were beautiful cars. Somehow they managed to combine outright speed with something that was beautiful stationary. And okay, so the new F80, it's not a bad looking car. It has a bit of F40 to it. But on the flip side, it uses a V6. Now I understand the top two forms of racing that Ferrari takes part in, actually as far as I understand it, all of Ferrari racing. So you have the Formula One car, V6. You have the Le Mans hypercar / GTP / LMH car, turbocharged V6. I can't even remember what the hell it is. What is Ferrari's current GT3 car? But like that, the 296 is a V6. To me, V6 is not Ferrari.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, look, and I don't want to hear about this. Like, well, it's just or Ferrari's F1 and sports car cars are V6s, so it has to be in their Halo car, the new F80, because like that's the top motorsports, and that's what Ferrari has always done. Oh, really? So you're sitting here and telling me when Formula One went to V10s, when Formula One went to V8s, when all this stuff, that Ferrari stopped making V12s in their Halo car?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just like...
Yeah, and also whoever's saying that literally knows nothing about cars.
Like
literally nothing.
And as chair is now moving regardless of input from me. That's mildly disconcerting. You know, and it's just like there's certain things. Lambo is proving that the V12 can exist.
Yeah.
Aston Martin,
it's true.
In motorsport, is about to prove that a V12 can exist with the Valkyrie. Valkyrie? I think the Valkyrie. Is now going to make its GTP debut in IMSA at Sebring of this weekend with a big 6-liter Cosworth V12.
Awesome. As it should be.
You know, so I don't want to hear about this. Like, now, don't get me wrong. In the general rule of thumb in the current iteration of top flight prototype sports car racing is turbocharged V6. Ferrari does it. Peugeot does it. Toyota does it. Honda does it. You know, Alpine does it. And down the list. You know, you have your Cadillac, which everybody says is the best sounding GTP car because it's a naturally aspirated cross-plane crank V8. You know, apparently Genesis is, but, and then you have BMW and Porsche who are running 4 to 4.4 liter turbocharged flat plane crank V8s, which again, turbocharging dulls the noise of those things because the Porsche engine is based on the RS Spyder's 4-liter V8, which I guess technically speaking, if you trace its lineage, the Porsche V8 is a turbocharged version of the 918 engine, which is a street version of the 4-liter V8 that was in the RS Spyders of the early 2000s or mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s.
Yeah.
And in both of those cars, it sounds epic compared to the race car with the turbos. Now, I know why they do it. I understand the engineering. I understand it. I get it. Don't need to. And the BMW engine is based off of an old DTM engine when they were running the screaming 4 liters. And those engines sounded insane. So, like, there's no interesting engines apart from Cadillac and Aston Martin now. But to get back to Ferrari never really capitulated to everyone else. You know, when the DFV Lotus V8 was the most popular engine in Formula One, Ferrari's like, that's fantastic. Here's your V12.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah. So what else has Ferrari done to sort of lose its way in this sense? I think I'd like to interject with a bit of just design and overall mentality, specifically in the road cars. So, question for you: what is the last great Ferrari road car that they've made, in your opinion?
As far as great, as far as ticking every single box, as far as, in my estimation,
yes.
a great Ferrari road car has motorsport pedigree.
Mm-hmm.
I would personally say it's probably the 458 as far as a great, as far as an all-timer, as far as something 30 years from now will be one of those cars that collectors lose their shit over. Now, don't get me wrong, the Enzo and the LaFerrari I think will go down but the LaFerrari, I think the LaFerrari is one of the best looking Halo Ferraris. It has a good look to it. But now you're getting into hybridization, overly technological, and everything. And to me, don't get me wrong, I'm never going to be in a scenario where I'm even approached to potentially be thought of to drive one.
Right, exactly.
So take that for whatever it's worth. But like the 458, in my opinion, is great because the engine sounds epic. The engine is so good that Chevy basically went to Super Troopers, said enhance, and put it in a Corvette.
Right, exactly. That's sort of what I was getting at. Is I agree with that statement. I think the LaFerrari is the best modern Ferrari because it is a Halo car. It is still a V12, and it just embodies everything like a V12, like hypercar should be. The Enzo does nothing for me. I think it's pig ugly. I don't like anything about that car. Even when it came out, I was just like, meh, not a fan.
I can see that.
Screaming V12, very cool, but the LaFerrari is a better car in literally every way, including looks. However, the 458 is the last great Ferrari in that sense, because if you trace the lineage of Ferrari, like sports cars and supercars, it sort of ends with the 458 as being the great one, because after that, it went to the 488, which was turbocharged. It then went from the 488, and of course there are other cars that Ferrari makes, but like that line of like you can trace from like 355 to 360 to 430 to 458 to 488, like that line of the mid-range Ferrari sports car is like the just out of reach but dream-worthy car that everyone sort of like benchmarks, right? So right after that lineage stopped because it went turbocharged. The 488 was basically just a 458 with a turbo and some upgrades. Like it's the same freaking car with a couple of body changes. the what was after that? The SF90, or no, there was something else. There was something else before that, but I don't even remember what it is. The F6 Tributo or whatever the hell it was. Like
Yeah.
there's it got so weird with the nomenclature, with the design, with how they were making the cars, why they were making the cars. It just sort of fell off a cliff, and everything after that just turned into, well, who gives a shit? Like there was nothing inspired like by them at all. It's just one of those things where you sort of watched a hero just like die, and I'm like, this sucks. So then they have other cars like the 296 GTB, which is a cool car, but again, it's like, well, that's basically just to me that was sort of a modernized Dino, if you will, and it was which isn't like a lot of Ferrari people. It's not a true Ferrari. So the 296 is a cool car, but to me again, I nothing it. The 599 to 612 to F12. Like the F12, I do love. I love the F12, but I like the 458. And then after the F12, it became the 812 Superfast, or I guess there was the F12 TDF after that, and then the 812 Superfast, which again, it's front engined. When I think of front engined, I don't think Ferrari. I think of other stuff first. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, Ferrari has a front engine car. Cool. Like it's not their bread and butter, right? So if I was to have a
They've
Ferrari,
only
it
been
would be
doing
a
it for
modern
over
Ferrari.
half a century, but yeah.
Oh no, I know, but it's not their like it's not what everyone thinks of when they think of Ferrari. They think of like the mid-engine sports
What's
car
the most
supercar,
expensive
right?
Ferrari ever sold?
Well, a front engine G250 GTO. Shut up, or GTB or whatever the hell it is.
GTO.
Right, the GTO. Thank you. But either way, when people think of Ferrari now, they don't think of a 250 GTO. They think of an SF90 or a 458 or whatever. But my whole point is, as soon as the 458 entered production, Ferrari across their lineup just decided to go strange. And I liked strange. I like interesting and weird in cars. What they did was strange in a I'm trying way too hard to be cool way. And that I think is the biggest difference.
See, I don't know if they went. I think honestly, strange. Like there is an element of trying to be. I honestly, so in my opinion, Ferrari's design, like I could almost forgive one of the cars having like a twin turbo V6 if it had a
Sure.
traditionally beautiful Ferrari body.
Yes, agree.
But I just get the sense that when they, in the modern Ferraris, and I think it ended after the 488, regardless of like it got dulled, it was turbocharged, it was somehow a 458, but less, but more. Like it was faster, but it was less of an experience in all things. But I think after that car, especially in the mid-engine vein, humans stopped designing the exterior. And what I mean is that uh, what is it? CDF? What's the virtual wind tunnel program?
I don't know, but it's something like that.
You know,
Letters.
where they just went for okay design, like they went to like a chat a GPT and it's, show me this with these dimensions, blah 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 blah, and it just spat out the most efficient shape.
Yeah. Yep. Agree.
And
There was no design to it. It was
it
all
didn't feel
functional.
human. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't have any Italian flair to it. It didn't have a. It didn't have curves. It didn't. That was the thing with like Ferraris of the past. There was always a flow. There was the curves made sense. Like, you could, and I think honestly, like I said, when that's what I mean when I say they got Germanic. They focused on form. I'm sorry, function, and form was an afterthought. It probably isn't that way, right? I'm looking at it from a through the lens, like a 50 or a 500-yard lens, right? Like I'm way distant
Right.
from it, but it just feels as a car enthusiast, that's sort of the route they went.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, like I don't think there's ever been a point in my life where I've, oh my God, a Ferrari, I want that car, that specific Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
List goes on and on and on and on and on. You know, because even before all of this, the Ferrari way was still, you know, oh, you want our best or you want our newest? We'll see. You know, or if you want to buy
Yeah.
their Halo car, you have to own a ridiculous amount of previous Ferraris. I get it. You want it
Yes.
going to a good home. You want to make sure it's not going to prospectors and all this other stuff. I understand all of that.
Yeah.
But, and I'll let you have your closing thoughts, but I'll kind of wrap it up here. Ferrari doesn't feel Italian anymore. And I think that's the sense of where they lost their way. It doesn't feel like, in my estimation, as far as like when you think of a quintessentially Italian supercar manufacturer now, I think Lamborghini. I think to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
although I think it might technically be Argentinian, I think Pagani for like those Halo hypercars, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ferrari should be that. You think Ferrari because it should be there, and then you see their cars and you're like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
I don't think this car will
Yeah.
ever do one of these, but
Which is so funny to say because Lamborghinis are German now, which is it's the but I mean
they let
the
the
thing is
Italians
they're
do the
like
exterior.
well, right, exactly, yeah, like they still let the Italians do the design, but the Germans do the engineering, and they still do have they do have technological prowess. They still do have engines that are desirable, even if they did kill the V10. So like,
Yeah, but they're replacing it with V8 that revs on pump gas to 10,000. Like
well, yeah, I know,
if
but
you're gonna get rid of a V10, like
that's the way to do it.
not
Yeah,
saying it's better than the
but
V10, but because
no, agree.
those V10s are redonkulously how strong they are.
Right, yeah, and I have no doubt that that V8 is going to be the same way. So that is, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like if I'm going to shop an Italian brand, it's going to be Lambo, and it sounds weird to say, but it's not because they have transcended the modernity of cars in the best way to keep it old school while bringing it into the new school. I don't think Ferrari's done that at all.
And you can modify them without getting a 12-page document from an Italian lawyer.
Which leads me to my closing point. So wonderful transition, Chad. The biggest turnoff to me is when a car brand thinks that their shit don't stink. And that is what Ferrari does with modifying their cars. I think someone in chat earlier, I think it was Zach on YouTube, said that Deadmau5, the very, very well known and super famous DJ, he owned a 458 and he wrapped it as the Ferrari, where he had the Nyan Cat wrap to it, or Nyan Cat, however you want to pronounce it. I believe it's Nyan Cat, which was basically just a meme cat, rainbow cat. And he had that wrapped, and he was taking that on like Gumball Rally and doing rallies in it back in like the mid 2000s. And I'm like, this is sick. This like rich dude is so unserious about his car that he wraps it in this, and he still like drives it all over the place. And like that's super cool. I love this guy. I also like Deadmau5's music, so that was like double awesome for me. But he got a cease and desist letter from Ferrari, and they made him unwrap the car. So he sold the car and bought something else and wrapped it that same wrap and that same livery. And I'm like, wait, Ferrari is telling you to take off a wrap of their car because it's not representing their brand properly? What absolute horseshit. Then you have the more modern versions of that, where they're telling people not to modify the cars, like you said, and it's just like, well, you're killing enthusiasm at that point, and you're turning into a brand that is basically just a rolling fashion show, and fashion shows are stupid. This is oh my god. This is Abigail Steve farts in his sleep. Amazing. I'm so happy that that's in chat right now. That's incredible. Um, but like that to me, that to me is like the nail in the coffin because at that point you're a company that doesn't care about its customers. You only care about your image. And at that point, I write you off. Like again, if I had money to buy these cars, the last manufacturer I would look at is Ferrari. The last one. And I don't want to be like a, be on the Jay Leno bandwagon or everyone else bandwagon is like, oh, down with Ferrari for doing this. It's just like, I don't want to be associated with a brand that doesn't care about car enthusiasts in certain ways. And quite frankly, that is one of those nails in the coffin for me. So
just to piggyback on that, if I, a customer, buy a car and I give you money, I do not want that to come with the automotive equivalent of a goddamn HOA.
Right. Exactly. And Leno is right.
And if I again, as a customer, if I'm going to a Ferrari dealer and I buy a Ferrari and you get hundreds of thousands of my money, which is a lot of money. It may not be to people who buy Ferraris, but it's a lot of money to like a lot, like the overwhelming, like 90+% of the population. That is a shit ton of money. The last thing I want to hear from you is you telling me what I can and can't do with that fucking car.
Right. 100%.
Full stop. I don't care. What I bought this. Now, obviously, as long as it's legal. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, just go do illegal shit. Like, what? That's dumb as fuck, personally. The whole street racing, street takeover, roll racing on highways and stuff. I'm not a massive fan of.
No, don't do that.
But, like, where else? That would be like, that would be like going to your local butcher and buying a steak and not cooking the steak exactly the way he says to, or he stops selling you steak because you sous vide it and then seared it and then served it, or you smoked it when you should have, like, all these little things. Like, it's a matter of taste. I want to do one thing. You may not like it, but it's still, as far as I'm aware, a free country. As long as I'm not hurting people, as long as I'm not breaking laws, I should be able to. And that's why, like, only Ferrari I'd probably buy is the same thing like the Scrap Life Dalt, the Coyote swapped one is to get an old one that may have been in an accident and put whatever the hell crazy engine I want. I think now, more than anything, I kind of want to get like a 355 that was like either in a fire or had an accident that can be restored and put a white block in it. A 5-cylinder.
Yeah, that would be so sick, and it would sound insane.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So Greg.
So down with Ferrari.
Yeah. Sorry, your DM caught me up by surprise. So
I looked on the screen and was like, "Really? Hello? Is that you?"
Yeah, I guess. Quadri Ismail. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. What's up, Rocket?
At any rate,
that's a deep cut from 1990s Notre Dame lore.
Yeah. Fuck Notre Dame.
Yeah, totally agree.
But I think that's a perfect place to end and a good message for everyone watching.
Yes, fuck Notre Dame.
So, all right, we're never going to get invited to a Notre Dame football game, and we're probably not going to be allowed to drive a Ferrari there. Yeah. I'm okay with both of those things.
I don't care about.
I'm okay with that. But Greg, before we sign off here, tell the ladies and gentlemen when you'll be back.
I'm hoping next week.
Chat, tune in next time. Will Greg be here? Will he not? Will he be in swimmies? We honestly,
It's a true mystery.
we won't know until next week on Shifting Lanes Garage.
That's right.
But at any rate, guys,
Let's tune back in.
thank you guys for all the likes, shares, comments, the conversation. It's awesome, guys. So happy to have Greg back, and hoping we can get back into sort of a more regular schedule, not just for the show, but for Greg's mental health.
Yes.
So, but yeah. Thanks again. Thank you, Universe, for letting Greg be with us today, and we will catch all of you beautiful